entire day lied to you. Every job has a version people see and a version nobody talks about. I'm your host, Angelika Shrivastava, and my mission is to bring you that raw, unfiltered truth. Because before you spend your whole life becoming something, you deserve to know what you're signing up for. My guest here today is Steven Tsang. He owns Pestmaster of Plano and McKinney. Yes, pest control. And he also owns a bookkeeping firm. Before that, he spent years in manager and CFO roles across multiple companies. So today's conversation is really two episodes in one: what it's like to run a business most people never think about, and what it's like to be the person in charge of a company's money. So before we get into anything, in your own words, what do you actually do day to day? Because I think most people hear pest control owner and bookkeeping firm owner, and they have no idea how that's one person's career.
It's crazy. Like sometimes I do ask myself that questions. Day to day, I'm telling you, it's different though, right? So granted that like I own a bookkeeping slash accounting business, and then in the meantime also doing pest control. Um, every day is different, right? So on the bookkeeping side, uh, of course, kind of have to like work with the clients and all that on their books. But I also have a team of about 10 people that works under me as well, so that quite majority of the clients are pretty much like day in day out. Most of the time, I don't hear about the issues and all that until there's an issue that my team can't
Mhm.
really figure it out. And sometimes there's like all those like last minute stuff and all that needed to be done. uh, I also kind of do meet with some of my other construction clients and all that to kind of look into like budgeting, forecasts, and all of those fun stuff as well. That's on the bookkeeping slash slash accounting side. On the pest control side, I'm more on the back end, right? I'm like, if you were to talk to me about like chemicals and all that, I'll definitely fall asleep. So then I'm more on like the background, developing projects, also reaching out to government agencies and all that to bid on the government contracts. Making sure everything flows and all that. Human resource dealing with our team, hiring, making our team happy and so far and so forth. So like, and of course, like doing networking and all that too, right? So
Mhm.
say every single week there is like at least one day that I would be out there doing networking events. So then I would then go out to a local BNI chapter whom I'm a part with. I would then kind of like talk to a lot of the business owners and all that, so that you know they know our business better, and then we know their business better, so that we can
Mhm.
constantly pass on referrals to each other. So
Yeah. Thank you so much for that concise explanation. I think it
Mhm.
explained a lot about how there's like that flexibility, but there's also that unpredictability as well with being like
Super
a business
unpredictable,
owner.
I'm telling you. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's good that you talk about the flexibility, right? Uh,
Mhm.
yes, there is flexibility. So, like, say right now, like we homeschool both of our boys. So
Mhm.
like whenever we want to go to the park, or whenever that we want to go to the zoo or travel for a couple of days, we can do that.
Mhm.
But like on the flip side is that like, okay, when you own two companies, do you really have the work life balance? You technically don't, right? So like work is technically your life at that point. And on average, if I'm really like working and all that, I'm doing about like 12 to 14 hour day.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so you gotta enjoy what you do, right? And
Mhm.
otherwise it's a drag, so.
Yeah. I think that leads me to my next question, which is what is the emotional toll of running a business like this that no one really prepares you for?
Well, I mean, and more so because like I don't have any pest control background, right? And there are so many things that like I need to learn, on a daily basis. And of course, on the pest control side, it gives me a lot more appreciation of what what we see, even like the pets and all that, like in the environment, everything kind of serves its own purpose. Um,
Mhm.
but like in the meantime, it's like almost felt like, running the business is like going through like an emotional roller coaster on a daily basis,
Mm,
right? Say on a monthly or semi-monthly basis, when we run payroll, you know where are we getting those money from? We're
mm,
gonna have to like figure those out, cash flow and all that. Say when you have a amazing win, from a contract that you have sent out and all that, you kind of have that emotional high, right,
mm.
in one day. But the thing is, like, that like after the emotional high, you're gonna need to like go back and do the exact same thing over and over again,
Yeah.
in order for you to be able to success in the space. And yeah, it's just kind of teach you like different things, like when you're on the high, don't forget the
Mhm.
lows. When you're on the lows, don't forget that, like, okay, the lows are temporarily,
Yeah.
and that like eventually things will improve and all that. So then, like, at that point, you're just gonna have to like suck it up and all that, because as an owner, if I'm all bummed out and all that, that's the type of message that I'm also showing to the team as well. And
Yeah.
imagine the type of feeling that they are going to have when the owner also feels extremely bummed out and all that. And
Yeah, I think what you said about the pressure of being a leader is something that like I'm also learning. Like growing up, like when you have more of these responsibilities that you have to step up to, it's like you have to set the tone for the team. And
correct.
I think it's reassuring that we're learning this at a young age, but it's also a little bit nerve-wracking that it's going to continue. But thank you for
It will.
telling us and sharing us about
it
that.
it will continue, right? And
Mhm.
when it comes to like pressure and all that,
Yeah.
like back then, when I was working, for a W-2 job and all that, like, sure,
Mm.
I have impact and all that in
Yeah.
different people's life or whatever, right? The relationship that I've established and all that. But
Mhm.
now it's like, hey, 15 families livelihood is
Yeah.
under my shoulder, right? And on my shoulder. So then sometimes like that pressure is huge. And
Yeah.
sometimes, like, even when you have to decide to let someone go because of performance and all that, but like in the meantime, you also kind of have the personal relationship and all that also kind of established,
Yeah.
with the employee as well. That makes it even harder. So
Yeah. So I know you touched a little bit about how you were working previously before these companies, you were working in a regular like employee job.
yep.
What was that moment? Like, what was that turning point that made you want to go from being an employee to being like the owner of a business?
I always wanted to
Okay.
put it that way from a really young age.
Mhm.
But it's just that, like, because of my kind of like my status and all that, like, I was an international student. I came over to America with like two luggages, right? And
Oh,
nothing
wow.
more. And I told my parents second week when I got here, I was like, you know what, I really like America for whatever reason. I don't think I would voluntarily going back to where I was from. And so I was like, okay, cool. You go ahead and find your way. I got into accounting. I got into finance. Got into the solar development company where I started helping out with like marketing, finance, and all of those stuff. Earning good money though, but like in the meantime, it's like at the end of the day, you're technically like selling your time to building other people's dreams, right?
Mm.
And so, and at the end of the day, though, if you really think that like a W-2 job provides security, you got to think again. Because when economy is bad, when the company needs to do restructuring, when, when there's all those whens and ifs that is going to happen, when they end up letting you go, you lost that 100% of your income right there. Right. So even back then, when I was doing my W-2 job, I started to branch out and do different things, right? So then,
Mhm.
for at the time that I would like, buying cars and all that to rent out, to lease out to Uber and Lyft drivers. I've done that.
Mhm.
Also kind of did like some shipping business and all that to ship from, say, like, America back to Asia to kind of earn a differences
Mhm.
there. I started my accounting slash bookkeeping business, while I was doing a W-2 at that time.
Mhm.
And to a point where like that was about 5 years ago when I got let go from my corporate job, because at at a certain time, like you already kind of you already kind of see the writing on the wall. After the restructuring, your
Mhm.
responsibility and all that like reduced dramatically. And then I was earning good money, like 150 plus k and all that a year, but I was only working 20 hours a week, right? So you already kind of know that one day they are going to be letting me go. And so like at that
Mhm.
time, I have to make a decision. Like, am I just going to sit there and wait when the tsunami hits, or I need to make a decisions to
Mhm.
kind of make some adjustments. So that's what I did. And so like when I got let go, I already got like 8 clients on the accounting side that I'm already serving at that time. So it's like, yes,
Mhm.
losing the 150k is huge, but the
Um,
thing is like I'm not losing 100% of my income at that time. So
mhm. I think what you said about side hustles is also something really important for us to keep in mind as well. And I
correct,
think like at this age, like being a teenager, some of us like we start our own businesses and everything. And I think what you said about like taking the skills from like your previous roles, like what you did marketing and finance, it like helped you in the side hustles and made sure that you had those clients lined up. You had people that you were serving, and that all really makes a difference in the end.
correct,
Um,
correct. Well, and in the meantime, you
uh,
never know.
did
You never know what type of skills that you're going to get and equip you to the next
Mhm.
level, right? So, like I'll give you two
Mhm.
example. One example would be end up one of my longest term client was actually one of the previous vendor of the previous company that I've worked with. We kind of established that relationship, and then once
Oh,
I know that he came out and started his own
mhm.
company, I then reach out to him and be like, "Hey, this is what I do on the side. Do you guys want to talk?" End up they're like, "Yes, let's talk." The rest was history. They're pretty much
Mhm.
now a client for almost 6 years, right? That's one thing. Second thing is that like
Wow.
never I remember like one of the things that like my dad used to teach me at a really young age. um he pretty much taught
Mhm.
me that like God is fair, right? Even though you might think that like you're losing on something. For instance, you get paid 8 hours of work, okay? Steven, why would you stay in the office for 12? Because I believe as I work harder, the owners of the company, they would then be able to see my commitment to the company. They would then give me more responsibility, and of course in turn would also increase my pay. That's why like for the first like 8-10 years of my career, every single year I have like a 20+% raise every single year. So like when
Wow.
you have that compounding, when your responsibility increase, the owners, it will cost them a lot more to lose you. So then they have no choice but to give you that raise right there, just so that they can keep you happy. And then it's a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I think that's an important lesson for us to learn about how, like, the amount of effort we're putting in, like, we'll reap the same reward. And
Correct.
learning that at a young age is probably a good thing
Yep.
with
Totally.
the system. Yeah. Um, did anyone ever tell you that going from a corporate finance or marketing or business background and like one of those jobs and just going to owning like a pest control company, did anyone tell you that was a strange move? And what
Oh
did
yeah,
you do with
100%.
your reaction?
Everybody was like accounting and pest control, like they don't line up on that, right? And even
Mhm.
even nowadays, like when I own this for about 14 months now, I'm still scratching my head on a lot of the things, right?
Mhm.
And as I mentioned, in the beginning, if we were to talk about chemicals, I would literally like I might as well put a blanket on me and then fall asleep. It's just totally not how I was being wired. But the thing is, I do believe there are things that can kind of transfer from one job or like one skills to another. um and so yeah, it's a learning lesson every single day.
Hmm.
Definitely. But more
Yeah.
importantly is the team that you build up, right?
Yeah.
So then the first couple of hires especially would be the most important, in
Mhm.
every single new business.
Yeah, I think really forming those clear and connected bonds with people, establish like a really good working relationship, and also really find that bridge of trust between you and
Yeah,
your
and the
hires.
team.
Yeah, I think that's really
Correct.
important.
Do we argue? We
Yeah.
do. We do argue. We fight a lot and all that. But like at the end of the day, I think like so long everybody gets the same goal. We all want this company to
Mhm.
succeed and all that. Then that's fine. Don't take a no, or don't take any type of like arguments or disagreement personal. I think that's like one of the
Mhm.
greatest lesson that I think everybody can learn. So
Yeah. I think I really like how you touched on having that common goal, that common vision. How do you really build that in your team to get everyone on the same page?
I think one of the things is being open book. um, I would tell them, hey, here's the struggle. Here's where we're standing on in terms of cash. This is what we're planning to do, for the business.
Mhm.
One of the things that I told my team is that like I don't anticipate everybody to stay in the same company forever. But I do is one of my hope is that like people would become a better human being, professionals and all that, or father or whatever, the moment that they step in to our company to the moment that they leave. I want them to at the
Mm.
bare minimum upgrade a little bit, right? And of course, in the meantime, to also have a uh, genuine care for them and their family as well.
Mm.
Because like at the end of the day, we're all human beings and all that, and like yes, they're exchanging their time and skills and all that for a paycheck, but like
Mhm.
behind that paycheck, there is that family that might be suffering. There might be a sick
Mhm.
daughter and all that he or she might need to take care of, or a wife who's constantly back and forth of like back, in and out of the hospital and all that he needs to take care of, and so also kind of remember that the family behind as well. But of course, like in the
Yeah.
meantime, before I hire anybody, I would then take them out for a dinner or lunch so that I can get to know them better. Because like at
Mhm.
the end of the day, uh, we hiring for the skills versus hiring for the personality. I actually put more emphasis on hiring for the personality
Mhm.
comparing to the skills. I'm not saying the skills is not important, but the thing is
Mhm.
there are things that people can learn. But the thing is, like when it comes to like attitude, when it comes to personality and all that, whether or not they can work in a team environment, you know, is not something that can be taught.
Yeah, I think having that open communication and really valuing people for who they are and as well as their skills makes everyone like a better team, more synergetic.
Correct.
And I think just remembering that human aspect of just not the person who's right in front of you, but all the people who are behind them as well, like their family, their friends, their supporters. And on that human note, what does AI or new technology change about either of your industries? And does it scare you?
Well, it of course it does in a certain way, right? And that
Mhm.
was the main reason why we got into pest control, right? Because
Mhm.
say for accounting and all that, even just a couple years ago, there's already talks saying that like okay, well AI is going to be taking over the accounting industry and all that on quite majority of it, right? And so accountant is going to be the ones uh, hugely being affected by the
Yeah.
implementations of AI. Uh, uh, and so, yes, accounting and all that is still kind of like our bread and butter. in terms of our personal finance and all that in my own family. But I pretty much like see that wave coming. So it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
we got all this money here. I need to make a choice whether or not that I'm going to sit here waiting until the AI tsunami to hit, and then sitting there and be like, what am I going to do now? Or I'm going to use this resource that I have right now to find another way out. and uh
Mhm.
and that was the main reason why we got into pest control, right? And of
Yeah.
course, within pest control, are we using AI? Of course, like everybody is nowadays, right? So for
Yeah.
instance, say when we go out and do sidewalk, in some government buildings or whatever, uh sometimes we need to take notes, right? We'll just go ahead and speech to text and all that to the AI, have the AI kind of provide a summary or even a proposal out of the
Yeah.
speech to text. That saves us tremendous amount of time. And on top of
Absolutely.
it, we also bid on a lot of like government contracts as well. AI
Mhm.
saves us so much time, right? At least it kind of gives you like validations and stuff like that on a certain things. Like AI doesn't fully replace us as human beings, at least not right now. um
Yeah.
but the thing is, like, I cannot really live without right now.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think using AI and like harnessing it as a tool and as like a partner in your business or in your work, I think that's the way to go. At least for right now.
Part.
I would like to ask you, is there anything a teenager could actually be doing right now if they're interested in business, finance, or entrepreneurship?
Do a psychic, right?
Oh, okay.
I would say go out, mow a lawn, do some power washing and all that, especially for teenagers. Say for
Mhm.
me, right? um if a teenager were to knock on my door selling whatever, right? Selling, say, pest control, or doing like lawn mowing services and all that, I personally, I would give them the chance, right? Or even like lemonade stands or whatever, because it's not just the money part. The money part is not important, right?
Yeah.
Out of comparing to the skills that you're going to be learning, by running the business, or even talking to people, like knocking on doors and all that. Because like a lot of people, they will not, like, they will rather die than go up to a strangers, knock on doors and all that, and then to sell something, right? And
Yeah.
that's actually like one of the things that I actually start teaching my boys. They're like almost 6 and just turned 4. This past Christmas, we have this, like, we normally print out all those like Christmas card. I think your family also
Yeah.
got one from
Yeah.
us too. And so like, I think like right before Christmas Day, I just submitted the one of our biggest RFP, request for proposal, for a city contract, which at the end we actually got the contract as well. Um, and so I submitted on the 23rd or the 24th. And so I
Mhm.
was like, okay, well, boys, what are we gonna do when we see all those, like, family Christmas cards and all that we have? I was like, why don't we walk around the neighborhood? I will have you guys knock on the door to all the neighbors, and then hand them our Christmas card, right?
Mhm.
And so and so, like, of course, for the first couple of ones and all that, they were like kind of afraid and all that. Once they get that
Mhm.
momentum going, they were like, they're literally like, hey, this one I will do it, okay, that one I will do it, you know so
Oh.
so so it kind of build up kind of like the fun for them. And then, of course, like,
Mhm.
when they're a little bit older and all that, I was already like, they were already telling me that, like, they wanted to do a lemonade stand, right?
Mhm.
So it's like, sure, you have all the time and all the opportunities to fail, and
Mhm.
people are not going to judge you as heavily comparing to judging an adult, right? So
Yeah.
so so they will show you guys a lot more grace when you guys made a mistakes or mess things up and all that.
Mhm.
Use this time, rather than like sitting right in front of the computer and playing, like, video games all day. Go
Mhm.
out and like do something more valuable. and
Yeah.
the skills of selling, the skills of talking to anybody,
Mhm.
is really 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 valuable nowadays.
Yeah, I think communication in today's world is so crucial for
Correct.
not only just in like the workplace, but also in regular interactions. And by harnessing the opportunities that we all are given and really taking advantage of that is very important, and we should all start doing that.
100%.
And for the last question, what does everyone get completely wrong about your job? You can pick whichever side of the career you want to
Really?
answer about. Yeah.
For on the accounting side, people think that like I automatically do tax. I don't do tax, right? And in fact I hate tax to a point where like I don't even do my own tax, right? But I know, of course, I know people who does tax. I'm mainly, I just kind of work with small to medium sized business to kind of like work on their financial statements, and then also giving them some advice as to like this is how you read the financial statements. And then of course on the forecasting side, like how to do budgeting and actual versus budget and stuff like that. That's on the accounting side. On the pest control side, uh people think I don't know, like people think that like I would know everything in terms of like pets related type of issues. But I always told them that like, hey, I right now I can at the bare minimum make myself doesn't sound like an idiot when I when I talk to a potential client. But I am not technical at all, right? So I guess like one of the things is that like, a me not having any type of like pest control background, I can get in and do that. Of course the failing rate and all that is relatively high, don't get me wrong. But then that is also a testament that like you need a great team, to be able to kind of support you, to be able to kind of teach you the things that you don't know and all that. While you're learning it, they will kind of hit the ground running. um yeah, I think that's the two things.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Singh.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's it for this episode of The Naive Expert. If you learned something you didn't know before, share this with one person who needs to hear it. Follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere where you get your podcasts so that you never miss an episode. I'm your host, Angelica, and I'm signing off. See you next time.
Thank you.